Hey guys, today we're going to do a lesson on clauses. This is a sentence structure lesson. So we're going to talk about what are clauses, both independent and dependent clauses, as well as what is a phrase, what are conjunctions, both subordinating and coordinating conjunctions, as well as the different types of sentences, simple, compound, complex, and compound complex sentences. So what is a clause? A clause is a subject and a predicate working together. So anytime you have a subject and a predicate in a sentence that works together, you have a clause. If there is a subject and a verb with a predicate, it is a clause. So it is very important that you understand that. Anytime you have a subject and a verb with a predicate combined, you have a clause. Here are three examples. I am is your first sentence. As you could see, it has a subject and a predicate. Therefore, it is a clause. Your next sentence is reading is fun. Reading would be your subject. Is your main verb. And also is a predicate. So you have a clause. And lastly, I study hard so I get good grades. I, and both of those I's in that sentence would be your subject. Study and gets are your verbs and your predicate. So again, it is your clause. Next, we're going to talk about what is a phrase. So what is a phrase? A phrase is a group of words related to the subject or the predicate. If there is a noun but no verb, or a verb but no noun, and it does not have a predicate, it is a phrase. So again, in order for it to be a phrase, it must relate back to your subject or predicate, and it has to have either a noun, no verb, or a verb, no noun, and not have a predicate in order for it to be a phrase. It can be a little confusing, but again, I need you to remember what it is. We're going to go over it several different ways. I'm going to give you an example. It says, hiding under the table, the dog knew he was bad. So your subject in this sentence is dog. And as you could see, there is no predicate. Also, the first part of that sentence, hiding under the table, relates back to your subject, the dog. That lets you know that the first half of that sentence is a phrase and not a clause. Again, I know it can be a little confusing, but we're going to go over this and I'm going to drill you guys until you understand the difference between a clause and a phrase. Your next sentence says, Warren, the world's best Yu-Gi-Oh player, arranged a duel. Warren would be your subject in that sentence. You do not have a predicate. So, therefore, the middle portion of your sentence, the world's best Yu-Gi-Oh player, would be a phrase. Also, it relates back to who Warren was. So he was the world's best Yu-Gi-Oh player. That, again, lets you know that it is a phrase and not a clause. Next, we're going to talk about conjunctions. What are conjunctions? There are two different types of conjunctions. There are subordinating conjunctions and coordinating conjunctions. But before we get there, I want to make sure that you understand what a conjunction is first. A conjunction is a word used to connect clauses or sentences or to coordinate words in the same clause. They also join words, clauses, and phrases. So this is the job of a conjunction. And I'm going to give you a few examples. One example states that Rob and I went to the movies. In this sentence, and would be your conjunction. Your next sentence, she is good at singing and great at dancing. Again, you see the use of the conjunction and. And in this sentence is your conjunction. It connects the two clauses in this sentence. And lastly, we ordered pizza, but we couldn't pay for it. But is your clause. So moving on from the specific or generalized term of conjunction, we're now going to talk about a specific type of conjunction, which is first your coordinating conjunctions. Coordinating conjunctions are a conjunction placed between words, phrases, clauses, or sentences of equal rank. So in order to determine what your coordinated conjunctions are, you can use the acronym FANBOYS. Fanboys is just an acronym, again, to help you remember the 7 different coordinating conjunctions. And they are for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. So again, use that acronym to help you understand and remember those 7 coordinating conjunctions. And again, they are placed between words or phrases and clauses or sentences of equal rank. So again, coordinating conjunction. Next, you have your subordinating conjunctions. What is a subordinating conjunction? It is a conjunction that introduces a subordinate clause and joins a subordinate clause to a main clause. So anytime you have a conjunction that introduces your subordinate or dependent clause and it joins that dependent clause to a main clause, then you know that you have a subordinating conjunction. So some most commonly used subordinators or subordinate conjunctions, you have after, although, as, because, before, even if, now that, once, since, that, though, unless, until, when, whenever, wherever, where, and while. Those are some of the most commonly used subordinating conjunctions. So an example of a sentence where you have an independent and dependent clause and you also have a conjunction being used is here. It says Native Americans lived on the island until they were attacked. In this sentence, you have your independent clause, which is underlined. You also have a dependent clause, which is not underlined, and you have a conjunction. You have a subordinating conjunction here. That subordinating conjunction that is used for this example is until. So again, you have 2 clauses that are being used, an independent clause and a dependent clause, as well as a subordinating conjunction to join those 2 clauses. So this is an example of 2 clauses and conjunctions being used together. From here, we're going to go and talk about the difference between an independent and a dependent clause. So first, we're going to talk about dependent or subordinate clauses. You may see those words used interchangeably. That just means dependent and subordinate. You can see them used either way. So you may see me say, what is the dependent clause in this sentence? Or you may see me say, what is the subordinate clause in this sentence? They both mean the same thing. Dependent or subordinate clauses cannot stand by themselves. They do not express a complete thought. They have a subject and a predicate verb, again used interchangeably, and it is not a complete sentence. So dependent clauses are not complete sentences. And you have 3 examples. Unless you want to go because I care and before you lose your cool. These clauses use subordinating conjunctions. You have the conjunction unless, because, and before. So again, dependent or subordinate clauses cannot stand by themselves, do not express a complete thought, have a subject and a predicate, and they are not complete sentences. Next, you have your independent clauses. Independent clauses can stand by itself or themselves with a dependent clause. So you can have a dependent clause inside an independent clause. It expresses a complete thought. It is a complete sentence. And it has a subject and a verb as well. So again, guys, remember that independent and dependent clauses both have subject and verbs. The main difference, independent clause stands by itself and a dependent clause cannot. So an example of an independent clause, I ran. Even though that's two words, it is still an independent clause. You have a subject and a predicate, and it expresses a complete thought. It tells you what I did. I ran. And we're not talking about the country. Fractions are fun. Again, subject and a verb, and it expresses a complete thought. It is a complete sentence. And lastly, pizza tastes good. It expresses a complete thought. It is a sentence, and it has a subject and a verb as well. All right, so moving on from the different types of clauses, both independent and dependent, those are the two we're going to focus on for the purposes of this PowerPoint. We're going to move on to different types of sentences. There are 4 types that we're going to talk about. Your first type of sentence is a simple sentence. A simple sentence contains an independent clause. So that's the main thing you need to know. A simple sentence contains an independent clause. The next type of sentence is a compound sentence. It contains 2 independent clauses and a subordinated conjunction. To know what those subordinated conjunctions are, go back and look at the list of words that we had previously. The next type of sentence is a complex sentence. It contains an independent clause and a dependent clause. And lastly, you have a compound complex sentence, which contains 2 or more independent clauses and 1 or more dependent clause. Again, independent can stand alone. Dependent or subordinating clause cannot. Next type of sentence is a run-on sentence. This is a sentence in which 2 or more independent clauses, again, complete sentences, are joined without an appropriate punctuation or conjunction. Examples of run-on sentences: I go home, Mom yelled at me. Again, there is a comma, but that is not the appropriate punctuation. A conjunction is lacking in that sentence to make it complete. Pizza tastes good, cookies taste better. There is no appropriate conjunction or punctuation. And lastly, get your work in, the quarter is almost open. Again, it is lacking the appropriate punctuation and conjunction. It is important, guys, that you understand what run-on sentences are and how to avoid them in your writing. From there, we're going to talk about joining clauses. In order to join clauses, you can 1, use a subordinated conjunction, or 2, use a coordinated conjunction. And there are some examples. You have a right and a wrong way. The first example says, I got home, Mom yelled at me. Again, we just saw that sentence previously. In order to turn that into a correctly written sentence, you need to add a subordinating conjunction, when. So when I got home, Mom yelled at me. That makes that thought complete. Those clauses are now joined. It expresses a complete thought. Your next sentence, you saw that previously as well, says pizza tastes good, cookies taste better. It is lacking the coordinating conjunction, but remember the acronym FANBOYS. So when but is placed in that sentence, it makes that sentence complete. So this is how you join clauses, using a subordinating conjunction or a coordinating conjunction. Next, this is a brief quiz I want you guys to complete. There are 2 parts. So I need you to number your paper 1 through 10. Now you have 6 questions for the first portion of your quiz. What I need for you to do is to write I or D for independent or dependent clauses. There are 6 clauses present here. I need for you to identify if these clauses are independent or dependent. You may pause this video at this time to give you the opportunity to complete this portion of the quiz. During this portion of the quiz, part 2, you are to write these sentences and identify the independent and dependent clauses in each of these 4 sentences. You are to underline the independent clause and circle the dependent clause in each sentence. Again, you're going to identify in the following sentence the independent and dependent clauses. You are to underline the independent clause and circle the dependent clause. Once you are done, you may turn your work in for completion.